episode of Thirsty Thursday. This time we're on a Wednesday. I think we've done just about every day of the week now except Thursday, so we just put them out on Thursdays. But welcome back. I think we're to episode 4 now. I know we missed a few weeks, so glad to be at it again, and super excited to have our new, I was going to say a new member, but our newest member with us tonight, who is not camera shy. And yes, I'm talking about the rest of you members that we've asked to be on here that have found one reason or another not to join us. But super excited tonight to have Mr. Chad Harmon with us. Chad joined us last week. Is a huge bourbon guy. He is our people. So Chad, thanks for being here with us, man. Excited to have you here.
Man, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man. This is great. I will say, like you said, being the newest member, visiting, having a conversation with the guys, the camaraderie of the night last week, the shared interest and passion in bourbon, like we hope a lot of folks at home and some of the other guys have, was exciting. And just, you feel like sometimes you can tell immediately if you're where you need to be.
I get it.
And my granddad always said that you mirror a lot of the people that you hang out with. So anytime I get a chance to hang out with good people, I try to surround myself with those folks.
That's awesome.
We'll get probably more into that as we go, but that was some of the initial things for me, and then the part of being a part of a community that gets involved in some special stuff, some picks, and some other things like that. That was cool too, because it never fails, no matter what part of the country you're in, you always don't have access to some sort of a bar. And networking with some of the team as far as bottle and passion and stuff like that, it kind of gets you access to some of that stuff. And then you always, even with some of the things like you said, yes, I'm very passionate, love story, love history, but you can always learn something new. I heard a lot of short stories last week. That even as long as I've been coming 16, 17 years now, that I've been collecting, aka hoarding whiskey, as some of us do, and heard some stories that I had not heard before.
Well, that's probably because they were lies.
Yeah.
So don't count on everything you heard here last week being true. No, man, we're excited to have you and somebody with your passion. And look, guys, I'll tell you all, the first thing I knew about Chad, and it came from Tommy, so it's probably a lie. But Tommy says, you have met the only guy that probably has more bourbon than I have. And I think everybody on this video knows how much bourbon Tommy has. So I don't know if he's lying on you or if he's telling the truth, but we'll find out.
I will say this. I've seen some pictures of Tommy's personal collection. He's seen a few pictures of mine. I showed you some. I had said the other night that ignorance is bliss when it comes to bottle wealth, and what I mean is an extended amount of bottles, because it never fails. You're going to have bottles that you don't like or don't want to share.
Right.
And that's the other thing I love about these kind of communities and these kind of videos and things like this is that it makes it to where somebody can look up information and decide for themselves before they go out and they spend X amount of dollars and have X amount of bottles, and then only have a handful that they're willing to share or want to share because they don't like. And so I'm always into that. And when somebody's got a story and knows something, I'm all ears.
We joke around here. For the longest time, I had a bourbon collection, and then I woke up one day and I said, you know what? All I'm doing is starting my wife's new, when I'm dead and gone, her new husband's bourbon collection. I'm not doing that anymore. So I got out of the bourbon collecting business. I'm in the bourbon selecting business.
No doubt. And I will say the other thing that I loved about this club, and one of the things that happened a week ago when I came, was the bourbon sharing part of the community in the club here, and that happens a lot of places you go. Some are a little bit more held back, but you particularly welcomed me with open arms. I tried a particular bottle that you had that I had never physically laid eyes on. And to have somebody that passionate and open to share something as you're willing to share something with somebody, and that excitement level, it takes it to a whole nother level. And so, the idea of having whiskey to share instead of, like we said before, hoarding. I'm kind of like you. My wife had got to a point where she thought I was going to open a liquor store. And so I was like, when we had that conversation the other night about bringing some products and sharing with people, and I got a chance to sit down and answer a couple of questions from some younger guys. I was just like, man, this is something I need to be a part of. So
well, man, we're stoked to have you. We absolutely are. And I think you were officially member number 40 or 41. So guys, we have crossed that 40 threshold. Keep inviting folks. Keep mentioning the club. Let's keep a word out on the street. But man, I'm stoked that we're 40 and we're getting to a point where we can start doing some things that we've really wanted to do. And we're actually doing it a little bit faster than than we had originally planned. Even the guys over in Oxford were kind of commenting the last time they were over here about how quick we had moved along. So we're excited, and I think we're moving with a good core group of
Yeah,
guys.
got
too.
to meet that founding member last week as
Yeah.
well. His name was
Steve Thompson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
got to meet
Steve.
Steve.
Yeah.
Listen, if y'all haven't been here, if you are a member or if you've ever been a visitor and you hadn't had the opportunity to meet Steve, listen, humble guy, great dude to talk to, very, very passionate about bottles and selections and what it looks like to have kind of a core sense of values. And once again, that was something else that really drew me to being a part of this, was that value-minded atmosphere also about how things are handled inside the club. And I just thought that was great.
Yeah.
So
Steve's a great friend to a lot of us, and he actually is the godfather. I'm gonna let him and Chris fight out who's the real godfather, but
Sure.
he is the godfather of the club, and we're appreciative for what all those guys have done. So guys, tonight we're gonna kind of stick with the same thing. Chad and I talked earlier today, and I kind of ran him through how we usually do these videos. I actually sent him one, and we were talking about the format for the video, and I said, look, if two idiots like Tommy and I can do it, you got no problem. You're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
So we stuck with the same theme tonight. We busted out a couple bottles here, and these are actually two that were in the kitchen that are tucked back over behind the sink that I actually forgot about, and some of you may know and some of you may not know, but we've got some members and Chris with NTs. They're actually at Leapers Fork today picking barrel number 2. Barrel number 1 was such a hit they decided to go back and do another one. So those guys are actually up there, on their way back right now. I didn't get a chance to join them this time. Tommy didn't get a chance to join them, but we do have some members that got to go with Chris, so I'm excited for those guys. Can't wait to hear the report when they get back. But we pulled a couple bottles out of here. We picked these up the last time we were there. These are both limited release bottles. On Chad's side of the table, you've got the Revenuers Reserve. Really, really unique bottle. I'm super excited to try this. It's 118 proof, non-chill filtered. They did a limited run of these. The Revenuers Reserve is named after Sam Locke. Sam was the first revenuer in the state of Tennessee. His great nephew is also the founder of Leapers Fork Distillery. So he's got a long history with that distillery. But this bottle, if I remember correctly, Tommy and I got to try it, maybe some of the others. Really, really good bottle, and I'm a big fan of anything non-chill filtered. Leave the fatty acids in it.
I'm with you. I'm my career, which
Yeah.
we don't normally talk about here at these places, but I'll just say
Right.
I'm in food, and everybody's into something different. But the one thing about food, it's those fatty acids. If you've ever had a steak and that marbleization in that steak and how that cooks down, and that's just like they call it meat butter.
Yep.
I'm all for the non-chill filtered stuff, and have had some great ones. This cool thing about this, especially being in a video like this, being so new to the club, is this goes back to what I talked about earlier about sharing products and hearing stories. I have seen Leapers Fork on the shelf at a couple of places and knew that Chris had gotten to do a pick and didn't really have a background for it. And you and I were talking about that earlier about where they're at, and kind of told me the story about this, which I thought was really cool. I love great story. Jerry Clower was a great storyteller, and he's
Absolutely.
one of my favorites. And so I love story, history, and then to learn something new about a product is a great thing for me.
Leapers Fork, I know you guys heard, I think Jake Chandler did a review on it. Went ahead and poured these up. We'll let them get a little air on them and see, since we're neck pouring here. Jake did a video on them. Jake lived in Memphis and was a little bit more familiar with that Tennessee market. Leapers Fork started in Leapers Fork, a small town outside of Nashville. I'm sure a lot of y'all have been there. If you hadn't, your wife has probably been there, because it's a very artsy, very shoppable kind of place that my wife really likes. But they are doing some really, really cool stuff. Not only, they're full grain to glass.
Yeah,
So
okay.
they're growing their own. They actually use a malted barley in these. These are toasted malted barley. So they're actually toasting and malting their own barley.
Okay.
Really, really cool stuff they're doing there. But you guys have got a hold of one of Chris's store picks. Y'all know just how good it is. But again, we always try to do these videos. We always try to do them with common room whiskey. We try not to do anything out of the vault room, not because you can't drink out of the vault room. Just got to have a little bit of permission to drink out of the vault room. But every pour that we do in these videos is something you can stroll up here any night of the week and grab a pour off of. And you know, Chad may know what he's talking about. I just ramble for 40 minutes.
Well,
I try to tell y'all what I taste. But, you know.
Absolutely. Well, and I'll say that's the thing that I loved about this, and the idea that you were telling me some of the conception behind some of these videos was that a lot of the things we'll shoot the videos for too, for club members, and even if there's anybody out there that's non-club members that get a chance to see these videos or hear about them, most of these will be pours that you can have access to or get. There's always going to be the unicorns. Heaven knows you and I both have hunted them for years on some of those labels, but some of this stuff that at one time would have been hidden on the shelf, or you would have walked right past it, if it had been a snake, it'd bit you, kind of a thing.
That's right.
And so that's pretty awesome. Excited about that.
Chad's spot on. Chad actually brought one over here tonight and asked. We were in the vault room putting some stuff up, and Old Forester 1924 was a year ago, absolute unicorn. I mean, it was hard to find. And I've seen it on shelves here in the last 3 months more than I've ever seen.
Absolutely, and you know, for an age-stated product, which they've only done 2 different times, with birthday bourbon and then the President's Choice stuff, and then they have something in the Whiskey Row series, and supposedly a quote-unquote non-birthday bourbon because of the changing of the master distiller there, and so that's where some of that fluid came from, was the story I had heard. Don't chastise me if that's not right, man. I'm just telling you what I hear, not what I know.
Nobody fact checks it.
Yeah, right.
I hope
absolutely.
not.
Okay. Well, yeah, like I said, if so, there'll be a comment, but that's okay. No big deal.
That's right.
But yeah, I wanted to try that just for some that hadn't. I had a fortunate opportunity to run into a few bottles in the state of Tennessee back not too long ago, and so I will tell you what, this is bright on the nose.
Very bright on the nose. I tell you, the first thing that really comes off to me, and we had one over here the other night. I don't remember. Oh, I do remember what it was. We opened a Michter's Toasted the other night. This to me has got a very similar nose. That toasted the toast on this.
The toast on that, and I will tell you, now that you said it and you mentioned the malted barley part of it, there's that toasted doughiness that's there that I am not overly accustomed to. Malted barley is something that a lot of people have started kind of releasing. I realize they've had to back up and do that 4, 5, 6 years in the past. But you know, at one time, malted barley was one of those things a lot of people thought of scotches and things like that being a part of. And I like the fact that you can take different ways of processing grain and use grain in different ways to mature whiskey and flavor whiskey and ingredient wise of whiskey differently. And we learn from them, they learn from us, and vice versa. But I just think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
There's a sweet note there. I don't want to say honey-ish because it's a little bit brighter than that, but it's not a sugar note to me.
That doughiness, you mentioned that doughiness. Once you really dive in and get my big beak down in this glass, it's almost like a little bit of bread spin in the oven just a touch too long before it starts getting that smoke smell and the alarm starts going off.
After one of those deals when somebody had changed the setting on the toaster, and you go in there and you're like, you catch it right before it gets too bad. And that waft that hits you in the head when you hit that little button and it flops up. I think that's great. But yeah, man.
Chad, cheers. Let's go in and see what it's all about.
Let's see what it's all about. I will tell you, for me, just like on the palate, the proof is not overwhelming at all. A little bit of that hug. I know this is a neck pour. We'll get into a second sip and kind of dig in a little deeper.
That's right.
A lot of honeysuckle notes for me on the front end.
Yep.
Some of those bright, and then
did you get a marshmallow? Did you get any marshmallow off of it?
And that could be that toasted note that you're talking about. To me, sometimes marshmallow, especially in toasted barrels, comes off more as a bread note than a marshmallow note.
Yep.
That's just my palate. Now, everybody's palate's going to be different. You're liable to get something that we don't get, or vice versa. And so, but I, like you said, when you talked about that toaster earlier and stuff, there is a creaminess to it.
To me, a marshmallow is sweet, but it's not overly sweet. And you were talking about that sweet note on the nose, just a little bit.
It's not sugar.
It's not,
Yeah, I get that. It's almost like if you were going to call a flavor a blonde flavor or a blonde note, it's kind of that note, that kind of idea of that to me. What's the second pour? What are you getting there?
The sugar didn't come through as hard for me on the first. It really came through on that second pour. And it's almost like a caramel light.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
not a heavy.
No, it's nowhere near a burnt sugar or molasses or anything like that. It's back from that for sure. I will tell you, and we talked about this the other night too, there are not a whole lot of bourbons that hit me mid-palate, or especially on the side of my tongue.
Yeah.
Usually some more aged products for me do some of that,
Right.
and especially some particular distilleries.
Right.
I do get this on the tip of my tongue, but there's some stuff in the side there that I'm getting, and I will tell you, I don't know if it's the toasted part of it aspect, but there's a little drying note there.
Just a little
that-
bit.
Just a little bit, not like an overaged product, not 8 to 10 years by any means, and not dry like a red wine, but there's a little bit of a dry on the back of it. But I will say this for the proof, it doesn't have that hug that I would have thought that it would have had.
Guys, I've got to admit, I lied right from the get-go. This is 100 proof. I had it mixed up with this bottle.
Okay,
So this is 100 proof. Yeah, so it is drinking. Okay.
Well, I was gonna say it definitely
For
drinks
118,
proof.
it's drinking,
yeah, for 100 proof, it definitely drinks.
It
its
does.
proof.
It does.
Absolutely, it
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
But I will say it is not harsh at all.
No.
Very approachable. If they're kind of considering this moving forward, somewhat of a base to build off of, or like a baseline of flavor profiles, and then this one, of course, is going to be a pot still. I would imagine that this one is not.
Yes, this one is not.
Okay.
This is a pot still.
Okay, and I don't know
Yeah.
if you mentioned that a minute ago. I will tell y'all that.
I did not.
That's
Yeah.
something that.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know the science behind the differences in stills and the flavor profiles or the aspects it can make,
So you
but I
have to
will tell you
understand
this: that there are a lot of people that love it or hate it when they hear pot still, and I realize that a lot of that probably comes from the mentality behind Willet and their pot still product, and I get it. And look, there's some Willet stuff that y'all I absolutely love. And some other things that Willet produces that I love.
Right.
And I get it. And of course, you know, everybody loves Woodford, and Woodford's got pot stills sitting everywhere.
That's
And
correct.
so it's funny how harsh some of those statements can be. You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you where I got turned off on pot still, and then everybody in the club has heard me say this numerous times. I am not a Willet guy. It
Yeah.
just doesn't hit. It's not in my profile. Now I've had some really good ones,
Right.
but as far as just going to it time and time again, I just don't do it.
And you know, you talked about that. Tommy is a huge Willet guy.
He is.
One
Jake
of
is
the-
a huge Willet
Yeah,
guy.
one of the things
Yeah.
that I talked about that was one of your common bottles in here is a Johnny Drum that's up here.
Mhm.
Which, not to get off what we're trying tonight, but that was something that I loved, and honestly, until I visited Willet,
Yeah.
didn't realize that's where they had come from.
That's
If
right.
I had seen it in the bottle or anything
That's
like that, I
right.
hadn't paid attention. And so that was really cool. So
And what's the other one? Noah's Meal.
Noah's Meal.
Noah's Meal is
Absolutely.
also a Willet product. Yeah.
And then they've got, you know, when you're in Kentucky, if you visit there, they've got that, what's the one that's got the horses on the bottle?
Old Bardstown?
Old
Old
Bardstown
Bardstown, yeah.
is a product, has horses on the bottle. You
Yeah.
can only get it while you're there.
Yeah.
It's really cool, super inexpensive. Somebody asked me the other night about those $20 bottles that nowadays are $30 bottles. When we
Yeah.
got into it, you can
Right.
find $18 and $20 bottles. There's everything now, as I told that guy the other night, everything seems like it shifted $10.
That's right.
You know, so
That's
$20 bottles are now $30 bottles.
Right.
But that's a great product from them too.
It
But,
is. It is.
I will tell you that's the further I get into it, instead of getting darker for me like a lot of whiskeys do, this one doesn't. This stays that bright note,
This-
that airy, that lightness.
This is the epitome to me when you talk about a porch pounder. And I don't. Everybody's got different criteria for a porch pounder. Oh, it's a really good bottle, or oh, it drinks light, or oh, it. For me, a porch pounder. When I say a porch pounder, I'm talking about something that's consistent.
Sure.
It's consistent.
Sure.
Just
sure.
pour after pour. And like you said, this one doesn't have. You know, especially being neck pour and both of our first sips of the day, I wasn't sure what direction that was going to go.
I will say that dryness that we talked about is
Right.
consistent. That sweetness that's not over sweetened,
Mhm.
like
Right.
dark and sugar, is,
Yep.
is consistent.
Right.
And I will say there have been some 100 proofs that I've drank that didn't drink 100 proof. And then there's some that I've drank that have been overwhelmingly.
Right.
This is not that at all. I think it's very approachable. Forgive me for not knowing this, but when y'all approach these kind of bottles, what's the cost on this bottle, if you don't mind me asking?
So
'Cause
that
a lot
was-
of people will probably wonder.
Yeah, and that one's both of these are going to be a little bit higher than the proof point or the
This
price
is that
point.
small distillery craft thing going on.
It
so I
is.
get that.
It is. But this, I don't know if that one tells or not. But this right here is bottle 281 out of 690. So there's only 690
so
of these
super
bottles.
small,
Super small. I want to say that one was 140ish, and maybe this one was 160ish. I think.
Yeah,
I think the
but
club
now
paid
I will
about
say
300
this.
for both bottles.
Craft distilling, unique notes that I don't pick up on something that's on
Yeah.
the shelf every single day that I
Yeah.
grab. It's very unique.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It is. It's not an Old Forester. It's not a Old Bardstown or a Buffalo Trace product or a Four Roses product. It's got its own
It
note.
does.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think that would fall into a little situation where it blends with some others, you wouldn't pick it out.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. And look, I'll be real honest with you, and I'm not trying to crap on the big boys because without the big boys, there wouldn't be little boys like these. But I'm a lot more apt to go into a distillery and somebody like Starlight, somebody like Leaper Fork. I mean, they're legit farming operations. They're
Sure.
doing small town products, and they're putting out good juice. And you know what? Yeah, I'll give them a $20 bill that I probably wouldn't give.
Listen,
one of the big boys.
I'm exactly like you, and I will tell you the other thing that does it for me. That's at least another $20 to $30 in that there. So we're already $50 more than what we would give for some other bottles.
Right.
Is the grain glass aspect of that, and the knowledge that they have, and then they're willing to turn around and give it to you, and you give it to us.
That's right.
I just think that's cool, and then the fact also that they're keeping it staying relative with naming it, what they're
Yeah.
naming it, and kind of that.
Yeah.
You know, because gosh, bottle art and all that kind of stuff, I can't imagine all that has to go into that. But there's so many bottle stories that are just so far fetched. To know that this one gets close to home is really kind of cool.
Y'all have heard Tommy and I talk about it 100 times over again, and Chad sitting here and being his first video and his second time at the club and this kind of thing. Tell me how much you love the front of this bottle. And I'm gonna show it up close. I mean, look at the information that they put on the front of the bottle. I mean, I love that.
Even there was a couple of Leaper Sports that I got to try the other night.
Yeah.
Small pours, but got to try some just because, like I said, I didn't know anything about the place.
Mm-hmm.
Love the way they do this. Love the stars for Tennessee. Love any bottle, regardless of where they're from. You'll see a lot of these in some rare characters and some other people
Yep.
that do these almost handwritten-esque bottle labels
Yeah.
on these and stuff. When it has, and you know, Blanton's kind of started all this where you started
That's
putting
right.
this information on the bottles
That's
and
right.
stuff, but the
Handwriting
fact
that on there.
that other people have kind of taken a hold of it, and I'm gonna tell y'all, I don't know about y'all, but gold on a bottle that's got that kind of juice in it is always a great color.
The information they put on the bottles, and shout out again, I've shouted them out 1,000 times. Bardstown Bourbon Company, when they put the recipe on the bottle and they tell you where it's from and they tell you what percentage is in the bottle, I like that. They ain't no hiding.
Well, I mean,
this is what it is.
like
I
you
mean,
said right
they
here-
go one step further and tell you what the entry proof
I was
is
going
on
to tell
there.
you the entry proof on this. They have the mash bill on here. We'll get to this one in just a second. Like I said, not only did we have a net pour, but our first pour as well. So we're kind of getting acclimated here
Yep.
before we step it up a little bit.
Right.
But at 70% corn, 15% wheat, and 15% barley, I'm interested to see if any of that dusty wheat note comes through with that 70-ish% of corn.
Right. I polished mine off pretty quick. That to me is a porch pounder. I
I want to go back to it just because it's so light. I
It
just
is.
want to see if this
It
runs
is.
it over once you kind of start moving up in their profile.
Guys, that bottle for me, and Chad, we don't normally do a 10-point scale, but I'm gonna start doing a 10-point scale.
Sure.
I'm in the high sevens on that bottle. I mean, that's a really good bottle.
I
I
would-
would be 7.7, 7.8 on that bottle.
Yeah, I would say that that's right. Anywhere in a 5 to 6 are going to be those middle of the road bottles.
That's
Even
right.
potentially, I could see where that becomes a discussion where one individual in the video would like something and somebody wouldn't.
Mhm.
But yeah, once you get kind of past that in those 7s and 7.5s, I think that's a great bottle. Very shareable.
Very.
And that's
very
something that's
shareable
big for
bottle.
me. If I can drink a bottle, I like that's one thing. But if I wanted to do what we've just done,
Right.
have a whole story with a bottle, that
Absolutely.
is absolutely that.
Absolutely.
100%.
We've always shied away from, there's two things we shied away from, and intentionally shied away from them. One, I kind of shy away from rating bottles because I can't stand, and everybody in this club knows this, don't tell me what I'm supposed to be smelling, don't tell me
Yeah.
what I'm supposed to be tasting, and don't rate my bourbon for me.
Sure.
Because what a boring world we would live in if everybody smelled and tasted the exact same thing.
Well, and that's why I said earlier that some other people's flavor profiles and what they get out of it may not be what we get.
That's right.
Simply because I went into the bourbon world like I went into cigars. I said that story the other night.
Yeah.
I had went in hardcore.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I was going to be a triple Maduro guy and all that just big, hearty, something big man stuff.
Right.
And really found out pretty quick, one, I could get burnt out. But two, I was missing so many things in between with such a harsh flavor profile.
Right.
And even enjoying the cigar more or
Yeah.
getting into the cigar more than I was into the camaraderie
Yeah.
and the fellowship with the people
Yeah.
that I was surrounded by.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it doesn't have to be overly complex, like you just said about a porch pounder, to be a great pour.
That's right, that's right. And that bottle is not overly complex. I mean, it's just a good, smooth. The thing that stands out to me is still the toasted. I get a lot of that
I'm with
toasted
you.
note
Absolutely.
on that. but that's just a good solid bottle.
It is, and I will say, I can appreciate that lightness, that honeysuckle, that
Yeah.
non-burnt sugar, without that overly sweetness there. Now, I will tell you this, on the nose for me, this is a lot darker.
Yeah. The first thing I got off that was like let me think. And this is going to be a weird combo, but the two kind of hit me.
Uh-huh.
Initially, I get like a fruitcake note that
Okay.
rolls into like a cola. A little bit of a cola.
Now, I will say this, that's ironic, because we had some stuff the other night that had a lot of cola on it.
Yeah.
We had a Penelope product the other night that we shared, guys, and there's one that the group here did, or they had brought in, and it was huge cola. Wasn't cola on the nose, but it was
Yeah.
cola on the palate.
Yeah.
And this is, yeah, the cola there, oh yeah, for sure.
A lot of cola.
Yeah.
But the fruitiness just on the.
I will say, you said fruitcake, and I was thinking of, there are a lot of fruit bombs out there, and so
Right.
I hate to use the phrase dark fruit because it seems like I hear that a lot.
plums,
Absolutely.
figs.
Yep, no doubt. There's some of that dark richness that's
Yep.
in those that would be more of a fruit than that sugar and molasses
Yep.
we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You can tell the complexity. The complexity from that first one to that second one is like
Listen,
day and night.
absolutely. That is hugely bright in the glass,
It
not
is.
overly complex. This, almost on the palate, on the nose, feels like a little bit of depth to it. And let's do this. You said entry proof at 110, and they pulled it. Barrel entry proof. Oh, barrel entry proof. I'm so sorry. At 103.
103.
And pulled it at they put one barrel in at 103 and one at 110.
Okay.
Okay.
Leaper's Fork is notorious for low entry barrel proofs. They live
That's
under the
what I'm
philosophy to let their barrels go to work when they put it in there. Let that low proof pull and extract out of that wood instead of a super high proof that's kind of battling a little bit with the wood.
Yeah. One of the things that I saw on this label too that jumps out at me that I would love to dig into sometime, and
Yeah.
maybe there'll be somebody that wants to be a part of this that knows more about it than I do. It has New American Oak at the bottom.
That's right.
Y'all, there's so many play on words, and we talked about this as well with oak and New American Oak, and whether it's white oak or French oak or any kind of oak for that matter.
Yeah.
But there's so many people doing so many things with different kind of oaks for the barrels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That seems like you can pick some of the influence out.
That's right.
That would be pretty interesting too. But I'm like you, those dark fruit notes without the sweetness that this other has.
No, I am not getting any sweetness off this glass whatsoever.
But now I will tell you this, just like the other product, I don't get a whole lot of ethanol / alcohol. Like I don't get a whole lot of overpowering on the nose.
Nope.
At all.
Barrel entry proof 110, barrel entry proof 103.
It says 5 years on there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's 110 proof.
So
So
I'm,
we're stepping it up
I'm
about 10
curious
proof.
with that 70% corn
Mhm.
and 5 years, I'm wondering if we're going to get corn over oak or vice versa.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
hey, cheers.
All right, cheers. Let's find out.
Absolutely. Okay, right off the bat, completely different flavor profile.
Yep.
I will say some of that honey-esque honeysuckle note
Yep.
that I got here, I'm getting on the back,
Yep.
picking up on the tip of my tongue.
Yep.
Like I said, wouldn't call it a base of spirits for them whatsoever.
I feel like I just got punched in the mouth by a plum.
It is
The
very,
dark
it's
fruit on the
very
nose.
dark fruit.
The dark fruit on
Heavy
the
on the
nose
palate.
comes through really strong on the palate.
It absolutely does. And I will say this, even at a higher proof point, this product doesn't have as much of a hug to me
Is
as
that
this
what it-
product. That's
yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's a higher proof point,
It
which
is.
goes to show that there are some high proof points. Don't let that scare y'all when you get
Yeah.
into some of that. Some of the people are going to be barrel proof guys like I was a Hardy cigar guy. And we had some things the last time that we were together that were higher proofs, hazmats, if you will,
Yeah.
that I would have never guessed at some of the
Oh,
proof
no.
points
That's
that we
right.
tried.
That's right.
Which also makes these kind of bottles very approachable to the
This-
common bourboner.
This has almost got this has almost got, it doesn't have the taste of a muscadine, but you know how strong muscadines are.
On the palate, it is strong.
It's
a
strong,
lot
strong.
stronger than it is on the nose.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, but the dry fruits just absolutely pour through.
which I will say, as much as we're talking about that, I mean, as soon as it goes down, it's all fruit mid palate, all over the middle of your tongue.
It is.
Uh,
Now, do you like to look at viscosity in your glass? I'm a big viscosity in my glass kind of guy.
that, and I'm a big color guy too, and I will tell you, for a 5 year, you may not be able to see this the way you're watching it and stuff, but there is some hardy darkness there. Not quite as bright to me in the glass as this seemed like it was.
Not nearly as oily either.
No,
it
it's
beads
not.
up pretty quick on your glass.
I will say this: the 5 years in the oak, I'm getting
Yeah.
some oak on the back end of this now that some people will say is almost like a cocoa, which is not chocolate. It's almost a powdery
Yeah.
note
That's
to
right.
it. Not overly dry by any means, but it's good. I will say this: that's one that if anybody asked me if there was a pot still bottle in the building, they to try to get them over pot stills,
That's-
I'm 100%.
that's it. That's
Absolutely.
it. I'm gonna send them that way before I send them Garrison Brothers way.
You know what, y'all? That's a whole other video. I'm sure that you guys will get to do on something, but yeah,
That's a whole other video somebody else is going to do besides Kurt.
I was-
I've learned my lesson with Garrison Brothers and balconies or balcones or ever how you say it.
absolutely. I learned.
I wish them all the best, but
I went on a
Kurt
trip
is
with
not your buyer.
Yeah, I went on a trip in the early stages of me collecting bourbon and thought, why not branch out a little bit, try some scotches just to see the similarities, so I'd have something else to kind of bounce some things off
Sure.
of. And I made the mistake of after dinner sitting at a bar with a guy and letting him talk me into a pour of Ardbeg and then a pour of LaFleur right behind that. And I've never in my life actually put a piece of charcoal in my mouth, but I know what it tastes like.
You hadn't recovered yet.
No.
You hadn't recovered
It
yet.
is one of those hearty feelings that you firmly remember.
Well, we're certainly not going to get off on a Scotch conversation here.
No, not at all.
But last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, one of my nearest and dearest best friends is a Scotch drinker. And he is a Glenlivet 12 guy, and he lives and dies by Glenlivet 12. And got me drinking just a little bit of Scotch.
Yeah.
Glenlivet is a little smoky for me. I am not an Islay guy. I stay away from the islands. I don't want anything that's that peaty or that smoked or that burnt or that charcoaly. There are some really good, and Chris has turned me on to a few. There's some really good Scotches from non-peaty land of Scotland that are finished in bourbon barrels. And some of those are very, very good and very, very appealing to a bourbon drinker. So if you ever want to shift gears just a little bit, Chris can turn you on to some really good ones.
And I will tell you, this is something else that we had talked about, and I keep going back to what we talked about the other night. Y'all, I mean, it was such an experience for me. I'm just excited to have been asked and been offered and shown my interest in being a part.
Yeah.
We had a conversation about some bourbon barrel aged tequilas.
That's right.
And y'all, I am definitively not a tequila guy. I'm talking about, like, some people have a bourbon thing
I'm with him.
that make them remember college and all that stuff, and they are drawing a hard line. I am a hard line on tequila.
I went 3 rounds with tequila and they won all 3
Oh,
rounds.
absolutely. Here's one of those things, kind of like some other stuff. You pop the top, I'm out.
Yeah.
Those bourbon barrels, man, the influence that has on that
It's
spirit.
crazy.
And some of those tequilas that are barrel aged and then secondary barrel aged is super great. But I will tell you, 5 years, absolutely. Wouldn't have called it, anything over 6 to 8 years just because of not the hardy note. I will say the 70% corn that we mentioned earlier does not shout at me like 70. I think in my mind I thought 70% corn was going to be like an 80% corn.
Yeah.
And like some of the buff turkeys that we've had and
That's
stuff
right.
like that. And
That's
that
right.
is not that at all.
No.
But where I get the maltedness here,
Yeah.
I lose it somewhat over there.
Yeah.
You know?
It didn't come through nearly as strong on this one as it does this one.
That's right.
Just 2 really good bottles. I mean,
I would say
to be-
absolutely.
And I told Chad before we flipped the camera on, I said, I am super excited about Chad's side of the table. Guys, I'm telling you, I still got that old gun shy a little bit. When you say pot still, I duck a little bit and kind of wander off. That's really good.
Absolutely. And,
It's
and
really good.
listen, it's a picture. It's right there on the bottle. You talked about yourself and the label and stuff.
Yeah.
I cannot question why they stand behind that, especially
Yeah.
in that product. Because like I said, it can be one of those things that's semi-leery to
Right.
some folks. But yeah, I love the transparency. I love the
Love
exceptional amount of information on that bottle.
Yep.
I think the age weighting on it was great. I love the fruit notes there. You know, you and I had some conversations about some rye at one time. We also had some conversations about Four Roses, which neither one of those are any of those things. And so I did like that a lot. I will tell you, after going back to this product now, and just smelling the glass
a little bit,
and just taking a small pour or a small sip, it still very much drinks it proof. If you have somebody who's a heavier proof person somewhere in that 115, 120 mark, this is also, I think, a bottle that you can share with one of those that carries its weight at 100 proof. Because there's a lot of people that I don't drink 100 proofs. I don't think that one would lose anything in that battle at all.
I don't either. And you bring up a good point. I'm going to switch gears for just a minute. I'm putting Chad on the spot. Didn't tell him I was going to do this, but I'm going to do it. And if you're on film next time, I'm going to do it to you too, so just be ready. A little bit of member spotlight, just a little bit. Just a little bit. What's your proof point? Where do you like to be?
I will tell you that I love that 100 plus, call it 5 to 7. There's 107 seems like it's on a lot of bottles lately. To that 115 mark, somewhere in there, 110. Once you get from 100 to close to 110, except for like we talked about here, there are some of those that stand out that you kind of get the proof point on. But a lot of those kind of mingle in that same arena where 2 or 3 proof points really don't make them stand out very much. And then for me, when you get above that 115, you start really getting in that realm. And it's weird for me, you know, anything from 115 to 120 plus, you feel like you get some heat off of. And then like we said earlier, you have some hazmats that you drink that don't drink their proof point. So it's very strange. But I'm not a cocktail drinker in the aspect of like a bourbon and Coke. I have nothing against it. That's not my thing. I'm a big old-fashioned guy. I love that. Bourbons are rising old-fashioned to me. I think it just kind of goes with whatever you're doing.
It does.
I'm a big Manhattan fan. I like those as well. I'm a big neat guy and got to becoming a neat guy as I got into it. I drank nothing but bourbon on the rocks when I first got started and water. Just because I've never been a Coke drinker. I am a Mountain Dew fan. Somebody mentioned Sprite the other night. And so those are kind of some of my points there. So the proof point is in that 105 plus range.
You drank a lot of whiskey like the rest of us over here. What's the magic year statement? 8, 10, 12, 15,
I will
20,
say,
23? When does it get funny and when do you guys...
I will say this.
If you watch our old videos, Tommy and I had this discussion in depth.
Okay, great. And I haven't seen those. And you sent me the link to those. I actually subscribed to those before I got here tonight. So on the spot, but totally okay with that. I will say for me, a lot of the things that I've had in that 7 to 8 year range really stand out for me. The only reason why is in my experiences, this says 5 years on it. The likelihood of finding a multitude of bottles that have a 5-year age date on it are not high. And so once you get below 6, there's a lot of that non-transparency when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's some volumes, and that's a whole other story for another time, you've got to be 4.5 before you can put a certain label on a bottle. And so from 4.5 to 6, there's a lot of ways to play with it in there. And so to me, some of that depth of character, some of that oak that I do like. There are some people that don't like drying at all. I kind of like that dry, that oak, that cocoa on the back. And the other thing for me that I've never seen happen in something that's less than a 7 or 8 year is viscosity. I'm a huge fan. There are other people that are not. You know what I'm saying? If you're a red wine person, and that's probably not going to be your bag, you know, and you could probably learn to love it. But I have not been fortunate enough and would love to sit down with somebody and pour me something that's 5 years and prove me wrong and then tell me it's a 5-year product. I would be wonderful with that.
Well, Chad hits on all the right points. I have had some 5 and 6 year products that I would put up against 12 and 15 year products.
Absolutely.
And I've had some 12 and 15 year products that I would have swore to you were 2.5 years old.
Man, and let me tell y'all, if you ever get a young product, very youthful notes, those greeny notes that we talked about, don't let those things become off-putting to you, because that doesn't happen a lot, but it's going to happen.
It is.
And we love craft distilleries and single barrels, and God knows that I feel like Tommy would even agree that will happen in that area.
Absolutely.
I mean, there have been some bottles of some stuff that were great shelfers that were single barrels that I thought something's wrong. and have shared with people to ask them, is it me?
I,
You know?
one of the most coveted bottles on this planet, and I don't have to say much more other than that, I was lucky enough to get to drink. And I would have just as soon walked out that front door right there and gone out in the yard and chewed on an oak tree limb, because that's what it tasted like.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I would have the chance to drink one of the most coveted bottles in the world,
Yeah.
and it be one that something's wrong with.
Sure.
But then I found out they all tasted like that, and I was like, hey, you
Now,
move that off my list.
I will tell
don't
you
want that.
what I have loved about a lot with craft distilling, with a lot of up and comers,
Yep.
is that I've been fortunate enough to have some young juice from some places.
Oh, yeah.
That was green, exactly what we're talking about. Not a bad product, but you immediately in the back of your mind think about what would this be like with a few more years on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see those distillers come back out with some stuff later.
Yep.
But if you didn't know what they were doing in the beginning, you wouldn't understand
That's
why
right.
they got to where they're at now.
That's right.
And so there's some negativity in it.
Gives you a
But
greater
there's
appreciation.
also some positives in that.
There are.
Absolutely. There's always two sides to
There
the
are.
coin when it comes to that.
There are.
And so that's just for me. And like I said, at one time, there were bottles everywhere that didn't have the age statements on it. It seems like in the last 5 years, let's say, that age statements have really come back to fruition. I wouldn't say since COVID, because even after COVID, there was a little bit of a lag there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of age stated stuff out there now that people have held on to, and then some people are dispersing and selling off some age stated stuff.
Right.
And a lot of these craft people are getting their hands on it.
That's
and
right.
And we've seen some low volume, high age stated products that
Absolutely.
have been proof points from across the board.
Absolutely.
That have been incredible products.
And guys, new labels hitting the shelves every day, and a lot of that new label stuff is nothing more than juice that's being sold off by some of the
Yeah.
big boys, because, you know, as we've said in these videos, I think everybody is sitting on so much.
Well, you know, take for instance,
So
one of the
much
things
juice.
I had seen here lately, and a lot of people know it, if you're into bourbon or you watch any kind of news whatsoever, there's a major distributor that has one of their lines shut down.
Oh, absolutely.
6-7 years ago, right after COVID and right before COVID, everybody was doubling production.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And
That's
now
right.
they have so much product on their hands, they don't know what to do with it.
And this is repetitive on this video, but again, if everybody's seen Neat, and I know you've seen Neat,
Sure.
you know, Jimmy Russell at the end of that says, man, there's 8 million barrels in the state of Kentucky right now. A barrel and a half for every man, woman, and child in the state of Kentucky. That number's 17 million now.
I was going to say,
They
yeah,
doubled it.
yeah,
They
absolutely they did. And so,
They
you
doubled
know,
it. And it doesn't have to be hidden what you're talking about either. He's talking about Jim Beam. Jim Beam has had Claremont shut down for a year now.
a year, absolutely.
A year.
And I will tell you,
Which is their biggest line.
no doubt. And,
So.
and my thing, a lot of things that happens with bourbon drinkers, a lot of us guys were beer guys that
Right.
became craft beer guys.
Right.
And there's a lot of things happening now in the bourbon world with craft distillers that's a little bit more unique than craft distilling as far as beer
Yeah.
goes, is because it seemed like there for the longest, everybody was trying to throw out a label as beer.
That's
There's
right.
so many more steps to go through with bourbon,
Yeah.
and there's so much interest and equity that you're putting up on the front
Yeah.
end. You probably need to be strong when you get there, and
Well,
I think these guys are strong.
Well, I think
Especially to be local to us and as close as they
Absolutely.
are. I mean,
Absolutely.
listen, there are a lot of places that you can drive 6 to 9 hours
Yeah.
that probably don't have as good of some staple items as these two bottles. right
Absolutely.
here.
Absolutely.
I don't think that's unfair to say.
I will, you know, I'll say this, and Chad alluded to it earlier in the video, and again, it's your club, and it's what your club is here for. I think what's finally happened, and I am so glad. I am so glad, and I hate it for the distillers. I hate it for the liquor stores because they're suffering some too. But I think we're finally pulling back from that. Oh, this brand is hit. I've got to go grab it. And it's $140, $160, $200 a bottle, and you've never tried it, and you get it home, and you're so excited, and you take the top off of it, and you go, this is totally not my jam.
Absolutely.
This is not it. And I think we're pulling back from that now.
Right.
And it's slowing the market down. And the slowdown in the market, and guys, if y'all don't believe it, you know, I don't know how you track secondaries, some of you other guys track secondaries. There are bottles, guys, that have in 3 months fallen
Oh,
100%,
listen,
150%.
not to bash anybody's brands
No,
whatsoever,
no,
but
we don't-
when
we
you
don't
can-
brand bash.
When you can walk into a liquor store and see Blanton sitting on the shelf, when that was something that you had to know somebody to get, to see Weller's sitting on the shelf,
Sure.
to see Woodford Master Keeps or Woodford Reserve sitting out,
Double
Wild
Oaks.
Double Oak
Double
sitting out,
Oaks.
Wild Turkey Master Keeps on the shelf. some of the Heaven Hill stuff even
Right.
sitting on the shelves.
But that was stuff that was never meant to be bought unless you had tried it. I really
Absolutely.
like this.
100%. What else do you
$300,
have?
$400
Build that
bottle.
relationship. Do what
Right.
you're doing.
Right.
But the thing that I love about this brand is what I loved about a couple things that we did the other night was that we talked heavily about how small this brand is,
Right.
how craft distilling these guys are doing, and how close they are to home in grain to glass.
Yeah.
And the thing about sharing bottles, I love that. Also.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I waved him off for a minute. Chad and I have rambled enough. We're going to get off here. We got a group of guys coming over. Bill Sedmeyer just walked in. Come here, Mr. Bill.
Yeah.
Come here, Mr. Bill.
Hey, listen, they threw me in
What's
on
up,
the
Randy?
video, so they might as well stick y'all on the
Hey,
video too.
if none of the
Come on,
members
I
are
already
going to
talked about
actually
you
be in
earlier
the
tonight.
video, Brandon, come on over. Brandon, Bill Sedmeyer. Guys, we're making a Thirsty Thursday video. It's be on YouTube tomorrow. So we're going to have a little drink here tonight. Chad, real quick, we'll wrap up. Which one do you prefer?
I will be honest with you, bottle for bottle, I'm a fan.
I
Listen,
went in a totally different
let me
direction
see-
than I thought I would go.
I do too.
I like the pot still.
I will too, and I will tell
Yep.
you, it's that pot still conversation we had earlier.
Yep.
Great product. This is a porch drinker, very crushable,
It is.
highly crushable.
It is.
One to take to the masses.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Guys, we've rambled long enough. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of your club. Come enjoy your club. Chad, thank you, brother.
Thanks
Glad
for
to
the
have you as a
opportunity. I
member.
appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank y'all for listening.
We'll see y'all next Thursday.